Hi there. Hope you have a fantastic day today. This lesson I will teach you perpendicular and parallel vectors. Of course, there's a PDF file versions on the description below for you to download so you can work with me. Otherwise, let's go straight into it. Let's say we have two vectors are perpendicular to each other. So let's say we have vector u here, and this is vector v. So they're perpendicular to each other. And we know that vector u dot vector v, let me just write this down. Vector u dot vector v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v, and cos the angle in between two vectors. And we know that vector u and vector v are perpendicular to each other. So therefore, the theta is equal to 90 degrees. So this means that u dot v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v and cos of 90 degrees. And we know that cos of 90 degrees is equal to 0. So this means that this part here is equal to 0. So therefore, magnitude of u times magnitude of v and times 0, the answer is 0. So therefore, vector u dot vector v is equal to 0. So there you go. So please keep that in mind. When two vectors are perpendicular to each other, so the dot product is equal to 0. So please take note on this, okay? For example, so show the vectors u and vector v are perpendicular. So first of all, we need to know that if vector u is perpendicular to vector v, so this means that u dot v must be equal to 0. So keep that in mind. So therefore, we know that vector u is equal to, so negative 3, 2. So negative 3i plus 2j. And vector v is equal to, so 2, 3. So 2i plus 3j. So we just need to find vector u dot vector v. So u dot v. So that will give me negative 3i plus 2j dot 2i plus 3j. So to find the dot product, so what we need to do is we just times the I component together. So that is negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then we times the j component together and we add them up. So 2 times 3 is 6. So we add together. So that is equal to 0. So therefore, u dot v is equal to 0. So therefore, vector u is perpendicular to vector v. So there you go. So if u dot v is equal to 0, this means that vector v is perpendicular to vector u. Okay, keep that in mind for me. Let's say I have two vectors that are parallel and opposite to each other. So let's say this is vector u and this is vector v. So therefore, the angle between two vectors is 180 degrees. So we know that vector u dot vector v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v and cos angle in between, so which is theta. So in this case, because they're opposite directions, so therefore the angle in between the two vectors is 180 degrees. So that is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v and cos angle in between, that is 180 degrees. So we know that cos of 180 degrees is equal to -1. So this means that, let me just write this down, vector u, vector v times -1, because cos of 180 degrees is -1. So that is equal to negative magnitude of u times magnitude of v. So therefore, u dot v. So therefore, if vector u and vector v are parallel and opposite directions, vector u dot vector v is equal to negative magnitude of u times magnitude of v. Okay, so please keep that in mind. And u and v opposite directions, also known as unlike directions. Okay, keep that in mind for me. Let's say if we have vector u also parallel with vector v, but this time they are in the same directions. So also known as like direction, if you like. Okay, so this is v. So we know that vector u dot vector v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v cos angle in between. But because of two vectors are parallel and same directions, so therefore the angle in between is 0, okay, degrees. So therefore u dot v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v cos angle in between 0 degrees. So therefore this is exactly the same as magnitude of u times magnitude of v times 1. So therefore vector u dot vector v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v. So there you go. So we know that when vector u and vector v are parallel to each other and in the same directions or like directions, if you like, so u dot v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So there you go. For example, show that vector p and vector q are parallel. So we know that parallel means u dot v will give me negative u magnitude of u times magnitude of v. If they're opposite directions or unlike direction, if you like. Otherwise, u dot v is equal to magnitude of u times magnitude of v. If they are same directions or like direction, if you like. So let's work it out, okay? So first of all, let me simplify this first. So we know that 2, let me write here, 2 cos of 30 degrees. So cos of 30 degrees is root 3 over 2. So 2 times root 3 over 2. So cancel out. So that is root 3. So let me write this out first. So vector p is square root of 3. And then sine of 30. So 2 sine of 30 degrees. So sine of 30 degrees is a half. So this means that 2 times a half. So 2 times a half is 1. So vector p is 3, 1. So now let's simplify vector q. So let me just write q is equal to, so we know that negative 150. So we start 0, we go clockwise, 150 degrees here. So this is 30 degrees. So therefore, 6 cos of minus or negative 150 degrees is exactly the same as negative, because in this quadrant, cos and sine both are negative. So it's same as negative 6 cos of 30. And we know that cos of 30 is root 3 over 2. So that means negative 6 times root 3 over 2. And I can simplify this, that gives me 3. So the answer is negative 3 root 3. So let me just write this down. Negative 3 square root of 3. Now let's work out 6 sine of negative 150 degrees. So 6 sine of negative 150 degrees is exactly the same as negative 6 sine of 30 degrees. Now we know that sine of 30 degrees is a half. So therefore that is equal to negative 6 times a half. So a half of 6 is 3. So the answer is negative 3. So that is negative 3. So there you go. So now we just need to work out the dot products of P and Q. So now P dot Q is equal to square root 3 1 dot negative 3 root 3 and negative 3. So now to work out the dot products, so what we do, we just go root 3 times negative 3 root 3. So root 3 times negative 3 root 3. So that gives me a negative. So root 3 times root 3 is 3. And then 3 times 3 is 9. So negative 9. Okay. So that negative 9. And then we add the product of these two components here. So that is 1 times negative 3. So that gives me negative 3. So that is, we add the negative 3, that become minus 3. So that gives me negative 12. So P dot Q is negative 12. So now we need to find the magnitude of P and magnitude of Q. So we time together, okay? So we're going to find magnitude of P first. So magnitude of P is P here. So that is root 3 squared is 3. And then plus 1 squared is 1. Square root of that. So this gives me 2. Now we need to find the magnitude of Q. So magnitude of Q, that will give me, so we use negative 3 root 3 square. So negative 3 square root 3 square. So 3 square is 9, root 3 square is 3. So that gives me 27. And then we add negative 3 square. So that is 9. So square root of this. And we know that 9 plus 27 is 36. So square root 36 will give me 6. Now magnitude of P times magnitude of Q. So that will give me 2 times 6. So which is 12. So they are the same but opposite directions. So therefore, P dot Q is equal to negative magnitude of P times magnitude of Q. So therefore, P, vector P is, so there you go. So therefore, vector P is parallel to vector Q. And in fact, they are opposite directions or in unlike direction. So there you go. Please pause the video and try this one yourself. Hi, I'm back. How do you go? So let me go through it with you, okay, to see whether you got it right or not. But before I do that, please do not forget to give me a thumb up and subscribe if you haven't done so you can help me to grow my channel. So let's get into it. So first of all, we need to know that if they are perpendicular to each other, this means that U dot V must be equal to 0. Now, if not, then it might be parallel. So if they are parallel, this means that U dot V must be equal to magnitude of U times magnitude of V. This means both vectors are parallel and same directions. Otherwise, U dot V must equal to negative of U times magnitude of V. Okay, so that both are parallel in opposite directions or unlike direction, if you like. So let's work out U dot V first. So U dot V will give me 2I plus 3J dot negative 3I plus 2J. So now what we do to work out the dot product, so we just got the I component, which is timed together. So this means that 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then for the j component, which is time together, and we add them, okay? So that means 2 times 3 is 6. So we add them together, so that gives me 0. So therefore, u dot v is equal to 0. So right, therefore, they are perpendicular. Perpendicular. There you go. Second one. So we just need to work out a dot b first, okay? If they are equal 0, they are perpendicular. If not, then we need to work out the magnitude and time them together. So see whether they are parallel or not, okay? So first of all, let a dot b first. So that means 1, 2, dot, negative 1, negative 2. So that will give me negative 1 times together minus 4 equal to negative 5. So there you go. So this means that A and B are not perpendicular, because if they are perpendicular, the dot products must equal to 0. So now let's find the magnitude of A and magnitude of B. So magnitude of A is equal to, so using Pythagoras theorem, so 1 square is 1 plus 2 square is 4. Square root of this, so this give me 5. And magnitude of B, so B is negative 1 square is 1, negative 2 square is 4. And then we add them up, of course, that give me 5 square root, and this square root as well, okay? So now magnitude of A times magnitude of B. So A magnitude times magnitude of B. So this means that square root of 5 with times square root of 5. So that give me 5. So there you go. They are opposite to each other. So let me just make note on this. So therefore, vector A dot vector B is equal to negative magnitude of A times magnitude of B. So therefore, A and B are parallel. So therefore, vector A parallel to vector B. Or in unlike direction if you like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got all of them correct. Bye.